This course has taught me very many valuable lessons about public speaking that I believe I'll be able to utilize for the rest of my life. In this speech, I'm going to tell you about 13 key points that I took away from the textbook, one key point from each chapter. Well, let's get to it. Chapter 1, the key point that I took away was that adaptability is very important. It helps you appear competent in all situations that you're in. There are some situations where you'll have to communicate differently than you would in others. For example, a formal situation versus an informal situation. In a formal situation, you may refrain from saying something that is on your mind, whereas in an informal situation, you could maybe say that thing with less repercussions. Chapter 2 key point is that it is vitally important to know the difference between facts and inferences. Facts are observable phenomena. So it is a fact that the grass is green. We can observe the truth in this statement. Inferences are conclusions that we draw from facts. For instance, the grass looks inviting, so I may choose to lay out a blanket and have a picnic. Well, let's say there are a bunch of bugs in the grass, and we realize that our inference is wrong. If we act as though our perception is a fact when it is actually an inference, then we can run into some problems. So it's important to know the difference between the two. Chapter 3 key point is how well we communicate depends on how we use symbols. Symbols are words and gestures. So there are vague symbols and there are specific symbols. For instance, I could say that I was driving down the street and I saw an animal on the road, which is a very vague symbol using animal. A specific symbol would be I was driving down the road and I saw a squirrel on the street. And that is more specific, and that gives the listener a better idea of what you're talking about. Chapter 4 key point is gestures are very effective when communicating non-verbally. So, for example, if you wanted to tell someone to be quiet, you could say, just tell them verbally, or you can just use a gesture, which is much more fast and gets the job done just as well. And there are other gestures that you can use that help you communicate, like stop, or come over here, or like let's go. Chapter 5 key point is self-disclosure allows you to get to know someone better. Self-disclosure is the act of giving your personal information to another person. It is a key building block in interpersonal relationships because when one individual takes the risk of disclosing information to another person, the receiver feels as though he or she can be trusted and is more likely to disclose information about themselves, which will lead to a better relationship. Chapter 6 key point was that effective conflict resolution uses I statements. So, an example of an I statement is, I don't appreciate when you don't listen to me. Addressing a conflict directly to someone by being honest about your feelings can resolve conflicts effectively, and it's best to do that with I statements. Chapter 7 key point is preparing a speech is like preparing for a sporting event. It is very repetitive, and you get better at it the next time that you do it. So, like preparing a speech, I'll read it over, time it, and the next time that I read it over and time it, it'll be better than the last time I did it. Just like with, let's say, a sport like baseball. The more, let's say you take 10 swings, and then you take 10 more swings. Well, the second 10 swings will be better than the first one because you already have experience doing it. Chapter 8 key point is that interviews are a great way to gather information for a speech. So gathering information from people in your community allows for the audience to recognize the value of your discussion because a local connection makes a topic more personal for them. Chapter 9 key point is that it is essential to practice out loud with a stopwatch before presenting your speech. When you do this, you can time and see how long your speech is so that you don't go overboard and so that and also that you're not like leaving out information. And it's just good because to know how long your speech is, it helps you, like include every step of the speech. Chapter 10 key point is to know your beliefs and values when listening to a persuasive speech. So this is important so that you can recognize whether the persuasive messages match your needs before you take action and avoid reacting to messages unless you are thinking clearly. Chapter 11 key point is before you begin planning a persuasive speech, think about your feelings about the topic you select. It's important to know how you feel on a topic before you choose a route to go on a persuasive speech. You have to know how you feel about it so that you can express it well to other people. Because if you don't know how you feel about it, you won't get your message across and you won't be able to persuade anyone who you're giving a speech to. Chapter 12 key point is an effective resume must be usually attractive. So no typos, must be, in good format. It must showcase your quality, strengths, experience, and follow the format, of course, that's required by your employer. Chapter 13 key point is that there are 3 types of leaders. There are authoritarian leaders, laissez-faire leaders, and democratic leaders. Authoritarian leaders tell people what to do while expecting people to follow their actions. Laissez-faire leaders let the group do as it pleases while not being too much involved in the decision making. Democratic leaders tend to people's needs, keep the group on task, and reach decisions that consolidate all the group members' needs. In conclusion, these are the 13 key points I took away from the textbook. I told you one key point I took out of every chapter while using this poster board to help me guide you through the key points. Each one of these key points will help me in my career, personal life, and my relationships, and I'm very glad that I've learned them in this class. Thank you.